Lindsey Graham was laid to rest, and I'm reminded of the words spoken about him. Senator Scott described him as a bridge builder, someone who could disagree strongly and yet still find common ground. Father, I do not recall Senator Graham using his voice to belittle or publicly shame others. If he ever did, it was rare. And perhaps this restraint, this refusal to tear others down, was one of his greatest tools as a bridge builder. His ability to disagree without demeaning made space for cooperation, respect, and shared purpose. I pray that we, as elected officials, entrusted with the leadership in this city, would strive to uphold the same high standard of respect for every person. Help us to remember that all people are created in your image, and that to belittle or demean anyone is to speak against your creation. Guide us in our responsibilities, guard our hearts from pride and self-importance. Help us lead in ways that benefit all citizens without placing any one person or group above another. May our words, decisions, and actions reflect humility, dignity, and the commitment to serve well. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to our first meeting of August. Budget will be talked about a lot tonight, but we've got a few other things to take care of beforehand. And first thing on the docket is approval of the minutes. The last minutes were from June 15th, 2026.
I think I can remember back that far. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, got it first by Josh and second by Councilmember Fresh. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. We have no unfinished business tonight, and so we will go right on into new business. I guess first of all, before that, we have the recognition of visitors. See Mike Reagan out there, GOP Chairman, Scott Clay, and a few others that I don't recognize, but good to have you here tonight. So, with that, we will go to reports. And we have a June fund report. Lynn, do you have anything on that?
No, other than it just shows the balances from our June distribution, and so all the balances are a little bit higher than they were for May.
That's always good news.
Yeah, so distribution's coming in or no?
Well, hopefully coming in,
Coming
that goes so much
Distribution
up.
coming in? Yeah, I think I got an email about an opioid settlement, a small amount coming in from them, or
We just got those in August.
just got those in August?
Well, late July, sorry.
It's okay.
Is that reflected in this fund report, or will it be?
It'll be in the next one. In fact, if we have to do reporting by August 31st, and I got that done today too, our monies were spent for the last, well, the state's fiscal year, which is July 1st through June 30th, so it was July 1st, 25 through June 30th of this year.
Before we get too deep into this meeting tonight, I'd just like to remind everybody to please use your microphones.
Thank you, Mike.
Lynn needs a microphone, it looks like.
Someone's still like.
Are there any questions questions about the June fund report from anybody? If not, we will move on to new business. See what passes. Okay, the first thing up, Mr. Hagee has a request.
Did you have a tough day today or something?
Had a good day, yes, sir.
Well, did you
Yes.
injure yourself?
No, my dog did, to be honest with you. So, I can make up a big story for you, but no. No, I'm asking, permission to take some money out of my overtime and put it in my 23 account. That's kind of my big account. What happened, I had 3 large pieces of equipment that went down on me at the same time. And thanks to the street mechanics, they saved me a ton of labor, but parts were pretty expensive. So I'm just asking for permission if I can move some of that money in my 23 to help cover the cost.
Do we have any questions from the council?
Assuming you don't have any, forecasted overtime that this would interfere with?
I still have enough in there to do it. I keep extra in case of a large storm or something like that I usually turn back in, so money-wise, I'm okay with that yet. It's not, to me, the safest place to take it right now, just because you don't know what, walk in the next day, there might be 3 more things fall apart. I don't know. You try not to, but it happens.
I would move to approve resolution 2026-08-01.
We have a motion by Cindy Dobbins, Councilwoman,
I didn't, so I put second it.
and Councilman Jerry Frush, seconds. Any other questions, any other? If not, I'll ask the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up, I guess we have Jeremy.
Sure.
Yeah, how about that? A public hearing on resolution 2026-08-02.
Yeah, so a couple of things. You have a resolution in front of you that is dealing with non-compliance of tax haven CF1 application. So they did not timely file their CF1, which requires them to file a resolution and then resubmit their CF1 for your approval. The resolution portion is an advertised public hearing, so you have to open this up to the public before you would either vote to approve or deny it. After you would vote either way on the resolution, you could then subsequently approve the attached tax abatement, which is the next item in your agenda. So basically, the resolution is just saying that for whatever reason they were not compliant, and they're asking for your approval of their non-compliance so that they can submit. Keep in mind, all the tax abatements you've approved this year are for next year's taxes. So same thing with this, you're actually approving their tax abatement for next year, not this year. This year's tax abatements have already been approved, so this would be for taxes due next year. Is there any questions on the process of the resolution itself, the public hearing, and the CF1 form? If not, I would suggest you open it up to the public, and then you would be able to receive any for or against, and afterwards you can close it and then make your choice on the resolution.
Jeremy, aren't we allowed to ask questions first before it's open?
Yes, if there's any questions for me, you can certainly ask.
Yes, so do we have a reason why this happened?
They had thought that they had submitted it to us, and I don't know if they submitted it to the county and it didn't get to us. Either way, somehow, it did not get to us and didn't get put on the agenda. And once they didn't get it to us before that date, they had no choice but to go through this process.
Okay, I just didn't know if something had happened with the business or if, but I.
No, I think what happened was they sent it to this county and it didn't get to us.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What years are they on in this abatement?
Supposed to be for taxes payable in 2026, payable in 2027.
Yeah. So sorry, like what year of the abatement?
Like,
To be
Is it a 10 year?
2026.
no, their 5th year for first years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how to word it
Did I
differently.
not have
I was
that?
trying to figure that out, so.
Other than them not filing it on time or the
It'd be their sixth, it'd probably be their sixth year, somewhere in their
Okay.
sixth year.
Yeah, their first year was 2019, or that's.
Yeah,
what it was.
2019 completion in 2021, so some of it may have been fall in 2020, so it might be around 6 years.
This is just unusual, they've been great partners with us, so I just
Yeah.
was curious.
We have a question from Councilman. Okay. Any other discussion or question before I open it up to public hearing? Okay, so I will open the public hearing to this, discussion right now. Are there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this tax abatement?
Good evening.
Please
My name is Todd Spiker with Instrumental Machine Development. I'm just here to ask for forgiveness. My documents were all signed like on the 29th of April, and I sent them out in the mail. Life happened, I guess. So, I'm just asking for forgiveness here. I've been in business for a long time here, so I'm just hoping that this one hiccup doesn't really reflect ill of us, so.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who would like to speak against? If not, I will close the public hearing. Turn back over to Jeremy.
So now that you've held the public hearing, you can either approve or deny the resolution. If you approve the resolution, obviously, then that allows you to vote in favor of the CF1. We'll submit that to the county for the tax abatement. In the past, we have recommended to approve IMD for their tax abatement. They've complied with money and employees, so I don't see any reason why we would continue their tax abatement.
Okay, so do I have a,
Given all that, I would make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second that.
okay, having Councilmember Fondaris made the motion, Councilmember Quantz, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it. That takes care of the first portion of it, I take it, and we have.
Yes, so you've approved the resolution, so now you have before you the CF1 form. So you would vote to approve the CF1 form, and then we will submit that to the county so that they can put that on the approved tax abatement list.
And like I mentioned before, they've been great community partners, so I'd make a motion that we approve this tax abatement form.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Quantz and second by Councilmember Josh Finch. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it.
Thanks for coming
Well,
tonight.
thank you very much, appreciate
Means
it.
a lot.
No offense, but I'm waiting.
I tell you.
Thank you for coming. Now we get to the exciting part, the nuts and bolts of the meeting tonight. The budget presentations, and the first one is going to be led off by Jeremy Skinner.
So I'm going to do my budgets tonight. I know that Jeff will probably want me to do the edit revolving loan, the CCD, rainy day, riverboat, and some others. I will do those for you guys at the next budget meeting, when he's here, rather than trying to do all of them. And I'm sure there's some people that probably don't wanna sit through all those budgets anyhow, so I'll break them up a little bit. So we'll just do my budgets. starting with the Warsaw Technology Park, which is 2237. As you remember, this budget is capped at 5 million. So over the last few years, we've been working towards capping out, and I believe after this year's revenue, we will most likely be capped out in next year. So we are getting very close to the 5 million cap. It's not that we couldn't collect more money beyond that, but we have to generate new revenue in order to collect that. And we need to be a certain classification with the state, so we'll work on that with them. But for now, as we go into 2027's budget, we got roughly around 925,000 that would be on hand, and with some additional revenue that may occur in 2027, like I said, it depends on what our total is for 2026, because we're really close to capping out, so there might be some additional funds for 2027, which gives us a little over $1 million. So the expected budget for next year is around 700,000, 50,000 for professional services, 50,000 in land acquisition, and then 600,000 in capital outlays. This would be primarily focused on any improvements, projects, and expansion of the technology park. So it gives us a total budget of 700,000 in 2027. I'm assuming we want to kind of take these one at a time. Any questions?
Jeremy, that 925, that's year end 2026?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just nice to see that steadily increasing, except for that, a couple little years when all the economy was down. But it's just nice to see how this is appreciated over the time.
Yeah, I'm hoping we kind of hit it at the right time as we max out, and then all the auto cams comes in on after we max out, and we get to potentially collect auto cams at the same time, so it might be perfect timing for us.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Jeremy, I guess we'll move on.
2503, redevelopment general. So I think the important item with this budget is this is the only redevelopment budget that is actually tax rate supported. So all the other ones are revenue supported, meaning that they are getting some kind of increment off of revenue, but do not directly impact or have an impact on the tax rate in terms of decreasing or increasing the budget. At the end of the day, most of the redevelopment budgets are money in, money out. And whether you spend $5 or $500,000 does not have an impact on the actual tax rate. Redevelopment general is the only tax rate supported budget. This is primarily where my office operating costs come from. So some of my wages and our office wages come out of here, office supplies, any operating costs. So if you go down through this budget for 2027, it's a little bit more, about 100,000 more than last year, but that is primarily in putting additional 100,000 in infrastructure projects. The rest of it stays pretty close to the same. We have a little bit of increase in wages and benefits. It goes up to 77,480. Office supplies stay the same. 50,000 for professional services. This would be any engineering or legal services for next year. Travel, 500. Printing, 2,500. Bonds, 500 each year. We have to pull bonds for the redevelopment commission members. Those are $100 bonds required by state statute. Other services, 10,000 stays the same. So primarily pretty similar budget. The only difference is I am requesting put another 100,000 in infrastructure projects. Primarily that is because we do have some additional funds in that total budget for some capital improvements for 2027. So it still gives us around 600,000 in that budget at the end of 2027. So it gives us a forward operating budget, depending on what happens as we deal with SB 1.
So this money's already there, correct?
So there's about 300,000, give or take, is what we expect for this year's revenue, which for 2026 would give us a little over $1 million. And then if you follow down through, you'll see what the end of this year's balance is around 755,000. You add around 300,000 to that, you get it right back around that $1 million. So we have a little bit of operating, some cash in there, so that was why I'm asking for some additional money for infrastructure projects. Those projects the good thing about redevelopment in general is that is a broad base. It's not specific to any one district, so it could be used for a downtown parking lot, could be used for a park, could be used for, it gives the redevelopment commission and the city some flexibility in what we use those funds for. So if we have some shortfalls in some projects that we're trying to get out the door, redevelopment in general allows us flexibility to use those projects for those funds for different projects, whether it be sidewalks downtown, park downtown, anything that kind of generally helps build the economy more so.
If you notice on his, from the fund report that was presented earlier, he is up about over $100,000 from he was at the beginning of the year, so that's helpful too.
That's kind of what I was looking at, yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, you have another, Jeremy?
Four fours, so all fours. 44, 44. That's an easy one. So this should be the marketplace TIF. This is basically just money in, money out. So this is part of the marketplace bond that we did, that rehabbed, where Gabe's and Ollie's, the future Hobby Lobby is going to be at. So the bond issue was basically creating that fund to fund that improvement. That bond was sold, and we basically collect the revenue and pay out the bond payment. For the first 5 years, they are to cover any shortfalls. We are covering any shortfalls in the next 5-year period, and then Lake City Bank would cover any shortfalls in the next 10 years. Currently, the last few years, I think it's been running around $6,000 to $8,000 short. I think somewhere in there. I believe after Hobby Lobby's done, there won't be any shortfall. But, so for 2027, it's just purely the bond payment. So the bond payment for 2027 is $151,748. It might be $47.50, I don't know, I might round it up, but it's basically just money in, money out.
What year are we on that bond?
Third?
Year?
Yeah, I think we're a third year in, or fourth, this might be fourth.
Third or fourth.
27 might be 4.
Any further questions? Next, Jeremy?
4446. So this is the Northern Residential TIF. So if you look at previous years, we've been averaging around 350,000, or we're growing it to around 350 from last year, projecting 450 for 2027, which would give us total funds for 2027 around 1.2 million. We've got 45,000 for professional services, 700,000 in capital outlays, and this is also the first bond that we did, was SRF bond that we did for Bella Augusta, and that bond payment is in wanted to do. We're creating housing opportunities, we're creating new houses, so we'll continue to put infrastructure in the ground and create more housing.
Questions? Next.
447, or 4447, which is the same as that, except for southern residential. It's growing a little bit slower than the north, but still growing. So for 2027, with the expected revenue of around 280,000, gives us around $1 million. We've got 100,000 in professional services and $500,000 in capital outlays, which gives us a 27 budget total of 600,000. Primarily, a couple of the projects we're working on down there is new sidewalk connections along County Farm Road connecting Eisenhower. So we've got engineering in the works there. At the same time, we are working with a firm to create a southern residential master plan that we hope will help us market some residential opportunities down south. So those are the two things that we're working on in that southern residential district.
Questions?
No, we'll move on.
4448. So this is the big TIF district. This includes most of, or all of the original northern TIF district, consume the eastern TIF district, like 4 or 5 years ago, and then eventually consume what was the original TIF district, the central TIF district, a couple of years ago. So total expected revenue for 2027 is around 4.5 million, which would give us a total funds in 2027 around 10.8 million. Some of my salary, office salary, wages come out of here, so it's 112,000, which is a little bit higher than last year, but not a lot. Sewage bond pledge comes out of here, 600,000, and then we have a number of bonds. We have 1, 2, and 3. PBD bonds come out of here. Thompson and Thrift, which was the Coles development, comes out of here. The airport industrial park, so sewering all of that airport that allowed Intramed to expand, IMD to expand. That bond is on here as well. Buffalo Street, which is a downtown Grafton park along Center Lake. Bond is in here, and then we've got roughly 600,000 for professional services, 5,000 for property acquisition, which is really just a placeholder, and 4 million for infrastructure projects in 2027 gives us a total budget of 6.454808, which is pretty close to last year's budget, primarily with our big projects being the infrastructure projects as we work on. A lot of this could have to do with the VA. Obviously, we've got pledges to the VA. We've got the roundabout at 200 in Husky Trail. That is in engineering now. We've got Thompson and Thrift development that we're trying to get built out. So a lot of different projects in the works. Depending on what comes to the top first, that's what we'll focus on in 2027.
Did this have anything to do with the lowering of the power lines at the airport?
No,
Is that part of this?
Not.
Any other questions?
Last one, 4449. This is the original Winona River, which was the gap key, which eventually became Union Station Law. So this TIF district's been around for some time. We've expanded it here recently as we've grown some of the projects with Warsaw Chemical into the 25 which was the redo of the Arnold, into Marketplace. The Marketplace is an overall larger piece of the Winona Avenue. It has its own subset in terms of the bond issue, but it is a larger piece of the overall Winona interurban TIF district. So for 2027, we roughly expect around 25,000 in revenue, which gives us around 93,000 in total funds. We've got 30,000 we put in professional services and 45 into capital outlays. It has over the last few years generated some more revenue, and hopefully as the Union Station lofts and 25 kick off, and as we work on Warsaw Chemical, some of you are part of the redevelopment commission and approving an agreement to turn incubator, 50,000 square foot new manufacturing facility at one of the sites. So all those things will help grow this district moving forward, and hopefully bring some life back into that older industrial area.
I'm assuming if anything happened, excuse me, with Dalton Foundry, that would.
Most likely, we would expand this
Probably,
district
yeah.
and bring them into it, yes.
If we're alive.
Yeah.
I hope we do.
It would be the likely, even, we try to figure out what do we do with Winona Avenue. It could be that portions of Winona Avenue would become part of this TIF district, yeah. So definitely Dalton's, potentially even Winona Avenue as we look at that.
Any other questions?
Not going on, Jeremy.
We do have a few things going on. All good things.
No, I guess I've got one, last one, just kind of all encompassing. As you know, the SE1 is going to affect us in the future. And I just want, I'm curious as to what we know about the future so far, how that has affected the way you put together your budget. Did it affect it yet? Are you?
I think in the back of my mind, yes. I've had a lot of conversations with the mayor about this, and probably some council members as well. I think it does absolutely impact how we think about what next year and the year after looks like. At the same time, and I've been very forward with this, I don't think the solution to the shortfall in SB1 is to make cuts immediately, because that is a short-term solution, which has long-term impacts. So there may be some communities that initial reaction is, I'm just gonna cut everything, we're not gonna do anything for 2 years. Not doing anything for 2 years has its own impact, right? So if we sit back and don't do anything, sit back, well, let's play defense and hope it goes our way, then for 3 years, 2 years, whatever, you've accomplished nothing, you haven't increased your tax base, you've not grown jobs, you've not done anything, but hope that something good happens. That, in my opinion, is not the best way to approach any issue we face. So I've had a lot of conversations with the mayor. We do need to be understanding what that impact is going forward, but we can't stop doing the things that have made us successful today and moving forward. Because if we do that, then we're not gonna be successful tomorrow. We can't make other people's bad policies impact the decisions that we make. We gotta try to change their policies. And so going forward, we need to work hard with Craig Snow and our own communities to make Senate Bill 1 better for us and better for them. Try to figure out a solution to what would do that. Now, that set aside does not change the fact that in a couple of years we have a shortfall. And in my opinion, that shortfall cannot be made up by not doing things. The only way you can fix that shortfall is to start making large-scale cuts, right? Which impacts everybody. You make cuts to services, you make cuts to employees. I mean, you can't, there's no solution to a $3 million gap other than cuts. We can save $500,000 this year and $500,000 next year and $500,000 a year, or $1 million, but that only buys us 3 years, or maybe 2 years. That is not a long-term solution either, right? Making cuts today is not a long-term solution, because at the end of the day, the 3 million gap does not fill itself unless you generate $3 million more. And cutting money out of this year's budget and next year's budget is a slow, you're still 2 years away, you're still gonna have a huge gap. You might push it off 2 years, but you're not doing anything to fill the gap. You're not creating new revenue, you're not creating new jobs. In my budgets, a lot of that doesn't have an impact because of revenue generated. However, the things that we do impact taxes generated and future revenue, right? So one of the things that TIF does do is it creates future revenue, that everybody gets a piece of the pie. And then Northern TIF is getting really close to having a huge impact, not only in Warsaw, but the county and the school and all, because all of a sudden you're gonna be opening up $250 million of revenue, taxes, that otherwise wasn't there. So that's $250 million of assessed value that's thrown in. You can imagine what the impact of that is. When we did the airport industrial park annexation, it was roughly about 10 cents on the tax rate. I have a feeling this is gonna be somewhere very similar to that. Because you're dumping all that revenue that we've created, spent 20 years building all these things, all these jobs, all these new businesses, new opportunities, and that's gonna be opened up to everybody. That's gonna have an impact on the tax rate. Now, it doesn't really help us in generating revenue, right? But it does help in that we are gonna help keep the tax rates down low. I mean, that's, so that will have its own benefit, but we still need to figure out how we plug that gap in. Honestly, I think the only way to do that, Jack, is to keep hammering on the state and keep talking to our own local legislators, the county and townships, and trying to figure out a way that we can all be successful.
Anybody have any questions? No, thank you, Jeremy. Next up, Parks Department and Larry Plummer.
I don't have 10 budgets like Jeremy does, but I got 3. Let's start with the 2204, the Parks operating budget. In that personal services category, everybody there? Okay. In the personal services category, we see a 9% increase in that. That's a 2% increase for, that was advised to put in for wages. And it also reflects 2 new employees, administrative assistant and a maintenance employee. As a result of the workforce study that was done by HR, it was determined that adding a second admin assistant will improve our operational efficiency by having uninterrupted customer service and administrative operations while line management staff remain focused on their primary responsibilities. And by that, what I mean is when we now have an administrative assistant gone, we've got to pull from the rec department, our rec director, our assistant rec director, and myself to cover that spot. Very disrupting to our whole staff. We always talk about having a backup plan for our employees and what I want to say, cross training. This gives us that opportunity. We don't have that opportunity now. And then the maintenance employee, the workforce study identified an additional maintenance employee as the highest impact operational investment we can make, enabling us to maintain our park facilities and community events while allowing our skilled carpenters and electricians to remain focused on preventative maintenance and specialized work rather than routine daily maintenance responsibilities. With this, I can't count the number of projects our carpenters and electricians have did for other departments. One is the street department, police department, airport, city hall. I mean, they've been involved in it. I think they all can attest for that. This allows us to take our skilled employees and help everybody in the city, not only the park department, but everybody in the city. And we're not, we're bringing somebody in that
doesn't have as much skill as our skilled employees to, you know, push a broom, push a mop, do something like that, clean restrooms, and allows these skilled employees to have a purpose, more of a time to do what they're skilled for and not have to do those custodial jobs. I've also included in your handbook, you know, some more additional justifications for those positions. I won't go through them all tonight unless you want me to, but any questions on that? All right, we'll move on to supplies. 0% increase on office supplies. Operating supplies, we have a 7% increase. That's due to fuel cost and supply cost. Repairs and maintenance supplies, we've kept that the same, 0% increase. So overall, total supplies is 4% increase to $289,500. Other services and charges, professional services. The one thing in here, we got a 0% increase, but what we did is we worked our 5-year master plan in there. Very important for us. It's due, we've got to start on that next year. It's due in 2028. This allows us for, it's not only a good planning tool, but it allows us to apply for DNR grants, which is very important right now as we talk. Communication and transportation, again, no increase there. Printing and advertising, we're holding the line there as well. You know, that's for our posters, flyers, brochure, advertising for our programs. Insurance, we put the 10% increase as instructed for insurance, and then the 10% increase for workers' compensation. Utilities, we got a 9% increase. We really were getting ahead with utilities this year, so we put that in there. Takes it to 188 for the year. Repairs and maintenance. That's a 38% increase due to the HVAC for our office. As you know, when we built our office, there was additional office space intended for upstairs. The mayor's office, Nanny, your staff, they would just up there while they were doing the repair work at City Hall. You get tired up there. So we're looking to put a mini split on there. We have one mini split. We're looking to replace that and service 2 office areas upstairs. That with the additional admin position that would go there. Talk to Core. It's very doable. It's about $38,000 to do that. So that's an increase there. And then the downtown earns. That's a new thing that's in here as we. Try a new thing with the Lake City Bank. You know, we've always had the flower beds on the ground. We're trying, Dustin and Justin have both worked on getting some planters, upright planters that we can put there. Not only have Anderson's plant those, make them beautiful, but it allows us to, you know, space those in between car parking space. So when you open your door, you're not hitting your door on that. Just a better thing, better way, I think. And this is a good satellite area to try this on to see how it could lead into all of downtown is the way we're looking at it. But
Thank you.
so that's what we're trying to put that in there for, to see how that works. And they're getting close to getting those out, I believe. So we'll try that yet this fall when we can. And then rentals, that's the same, or 6% increase there due to rugs and uniform increases. Other services and charges. 22% increase. This is due to the Department of Homeland Security permits and the concert increase. Last year we had $90,000 for our concerts. This year we've got $110,000 in there. As I can attest to you that trying to get entertainment for the country and rock is getting harder and harder to find artists that are in our price range. We used to have a list of about 10 to 12 to choose from. This year we had 2 with the possibility of 1 even making. It's getting harder and harder every year to get that in that price range. So we'd like to increase that to try to get a better list, to give us more versatility and allow us to have you know, more to choose from, a better group to choose from. It's unbelievable what some of these artists are charging nowadays. It's skyrocketing. So we've been fortunate to have the entertainers we've had, but I'd just like to increase that a little bit. Award code's the same, so our total other services and charges is $777,300, which is a 12% increase. Any questions on that? All right, we'll go to capital outlays. Of course, we got our new truck. We're gonna have, save some money in that. We're gonna have the street department, put the plow and the lights on the new truck. That'll save us additional funds. We'd like to, do some, bench and swing replacement on CERN, Bayer, Kiwanis, and Pike Lake. Riding mower, that's our 4-year replacement in our maintenance program. Of course, weed eaters and things of that sort. This is a 33% decrease, for $123,000. So our total capital outlay is actually a 71% decrease, since we didn't have the 443 in this year. So my total proposed budget for 2027 is $3,439,100. That's actually a $4,700 decrease from my proposed budget last year. So,
Increase or decrease?
decrease, with a D. Sorry, I'm about strike.
We're
Any
not
questions?
used to hearing that word.
Yes.
Well, you know, Jack, as you talked about that, we've had the discussions about the SB one with the mayor, and our staff has had a lot of discussions about that. We worked into this budget too. Normally we replace playground equipment yearly. We felt that through our auditing system that our playground can go a year or two more. So we're looking to do, the sidewalk project and things of that sort, just prioritizing what we can do to make the parks safe and still, look great for the public. So yes, we are working on that. We're looking at, the expansion, will that happen? Probably not, but, we're doing a lot of things. I mean, one of the things, I just determined that, the playgrounds, instead we're gonna do the sidewalk replacements. There's a lot of difficult decisions ahead. We have discussed the potential effects of future park improvements, expansion of our park system, equipment replacement schedules. I know Dustin's worked hard, getting all the departments together to find out what equipment we have to share. We've all been involved in that as all city departments. So yes, we're looking at this. We realize that it's a potential, and it's on our radar for sure. But, our priority is just to provide safe parks and good entertainment and good recreation for our people. I mean, I think that's what draws a lot of people in the city of Warsaw. So, any questions on that budget?
Nope.
All right, we'll go to 2211, which is our non-reverting recreation budget. Operating supplies, it's $11,850, and then other supplies is $5,400. This is a $2,000 increase due to supply cost. As we put all these programs on, and we do put a lot of programs on, supplies and costs are going up, so it's a $2,000 increase there to $17,250. Printing and advertising, that stayed the same at $1,400. Other services and charges, this went up $5,000, and that was due to we did not receive the Indiana Arts Commission grant that we had received for so many years. They cut a lot of the grants out. The good news is on the next cycle, we have applied and we did get the grant, so we're not going to be short another $4,000 or $5,000. So we're trying to offset that in this budget. So our total budget there is $34,350. As of June 11th, there was $48,717.
And your revenue comes from?
The revenue comes from program, yes, absolutely.
No tax base.
No tax base, all program revenue,
Which means people pay for it
yes,
as they use it.
yes, absolutely. For instance, we just had a family carnival last Friday, and they paid $10 for a stamp to go do everything, so that's revenue coming in.
And I just paid for my painting class last Monday.
That's right.
And Larry had a stack of money this morning to show it.
Well, you said bring in the revenue, I mean, that's what you know. Any questions on that? All right, right, the next one's 4403. This is our non-reverting capital fund. This is generated from rentals at the fireman's building, the Nye youth cabin, and the kayak kiosks.
How are those kiosks going?
They do well. We had a good year last year with them.
Last year was the first year, right? Or-
No, that's not.
It's the second.
Third year.
Third year?
Third
Wow,
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, we've had it on Zoom. Mike, I think you remember when we first did it, but, yeah, I think it was out there. Anyhow, yeah, kiosks is, like I said, fireman's building and Nye youth cabin. Here we just have, in our repair and maintenance, we have $30,000 in there in case we needed to have, anything done with the electrical, the HVAC, motors, anything like that. And then, the machinery and equipment, of course, cost related to replacement of the buildings and the kiosk equipment, $15,000. So, total proposed budget of $45,000. As of June, there was $129,821 in that fund. And this is just kind of a contingency in case anything goes wrong with those buildings or the kiosks, we would have it there. Any questions on that? That's all I got.
Doesn't sound like it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Justin Taylor. Building and planning, come on down.
It's the next contestant.
He's all 50 up.
Fancy for you guys. 1101-009 is the building and planning budget. I'd just like to begin talking a little bit about the department, what makes us successful.
That's your number, but what's his tab?
Yeah, tab.
Oh, sorry.
7,
Oh,
I'm sorry, 9.
009.
009.
oh, 0.
Double, it's not 007, it's 009.
So that's your number line on your budget.
Everybody got that?
Yeah,
All right.
009.
So I just wanted to share a little bit about the department since I have one budget and a smaller new budget that was just created this year thanks to SB 201. What makes the building and planning department special, unique, successful? We have a hardworking team that is passionate about serving our community. Each member of the team is committed to not only providing excellent public service, but also continuing to improve themselves and our processes so we can work smarter, deliver better service, and make our systems more efficient. Our team brings together a diverse set of skills and experiences. We now have a bilingual team member to help us communicate with our Spanish-speaking residents. We have a team member with 40 years of experience that brings invaluable knowledge and perspective. We have staff that have worked in other communities that bring fresh ideas and proven best practices to help strengthen the department. Not just experience is very important, but also attitude. And we have team members that bring enthusiasm that's contagious to lift the mood of the entire office and remind us why public service is important. As we review the budget tonight, it's important to remember that these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They also, behind every number is a story. And behind every story is somebody counting on us to do our job well. The team is always looking for ways to work smarter and more efficiently, not just doing things the way they've always been done, but continuing to evaluate our processes and our to improve customer service. We're building systems to serve our community well into the future. Our goal is longevity, not only of our employees, but also the systems we create and the level of service we provide. This year to date, we have received $30 million worth of commercial building permits, so that's as of today, and $15 million worth of residential building permits. This year, we will see around 160 multifamily housing units come to fruition. So that includes the projects that Jeremy was highlighting in his presentation. We've seen 34 new homes built this year. We're on track to see about 40 more be constructed this year. Currently, the department is overseeing $150 million worth of active construction projects. So, very busy, construction year. This represents a significant investment in the city, and there's a tremendous amount of work, being managed by the department. So with that, I'll go into the budget. Before you is a budget that reflects a thoughtful and conservative approach. Overall, I am proposing an increase of 2%. I believe this is a responsible budget that recognizes the fiscal challenges with recent state regulations, while also allowing us to maintain the high level of service that the community expects. Personnel services has an increase of 3%. This modest adjustment will help us improve the benefits for the employees, but also create room for future growth. Office supplies, we have an increase of 5%, and inflation enforces there. We just want to continue to keep up with the expenses with aging equipment. We want to continue to be able to replace things as they break. Professional services, we have a 3% proposed increase. We have a 3% increase for classes and conferences. Again, continuing education is very important for the department, keeping those certifications current. We have overall for other services and charges, we have a 2% proposed increase. So again, trying to be responsible, not increase things that can remain the same year over year. No proposed increase to capital outlays this year. So with that, and I'm not sure what tab it would be in the book, but I have a 2260 would be the, or if there's any questions or comments on the building and planning budget.
Just one question. How many employees are there in the building and planning department?
So we have 8, and we're looking at potentially adding another assistant planner, so we're just maybe growing a little bit to help with some of the technical GIS things.
And the building inspector that comes out of your department?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Any other questions? Or?
Doesn't look like it.
So 2260 is what I have it under, is that correct? Okay. All right, so this is new because of the state law, SB1. We have to set up a non-reverting fund, so Lynn has helped us with that. We've typically we bring in anywhere from 35, 40 to 50, 60,000 a year in permit fees. So that number can fluctuate drastically depending on how many projects come in. So for next year, since this is a new budget, I put in a budget of 35,000 and split that up so that it can be used for, as required by the state, for the operation of the office. So I put 5,000 in office supplies, 5,000 in operating supplies, professional services, I put 20,000, and 5,000 in communication and transportation. So again, this budget will likely evolve over the next year once we understand how best to use those funds that the state's having us put in that non-reverting fund.
So in all reality, it should take some slack off of the general fund and out of this budget. That's the hope.
That's the intention.
As we learn how to use it.
Yeah.
And this year, we're looking to do some other things related to that new state law. We'll be holding a public hearing at the Plan Commission to go over our zoning regulations, make sure we're cognizant of barriers that might exist for development. I know Jeremy works hard to get those developments off the ground, but some new insights might come out of those meetings. So looking forward to hosting those public hearings for the community members to come out. We'll be reaching out to realtors and developers to take part in those meetings. So we're also working on the strategic plan, as the council's aware. So we're looking to wrap that up and then begin our comprehensive plan process. So a lot going on, but a lot of exciting stuff.
Justin, are you thinking, or have you looked into increasing the permit fees?
That is part of the public hearing process. So the state law has changed how we can do that. So we still, they've changed it to a 5-year increment. So you can change your fees really up them every 5 years, and every other year has to keep up with inflation. So it's an interesting setup that they've created. We're gonna evaluate that with the public hearings. A lot of communities have kind of done a knee-jerk reaction and just hiked up their fees. And I don't think that's the proper response. I think we really wanna think this through, because if the intention of this bill was to lower the barriers to development, raising our fees might have the opposite impact. So I want that to be a very thought out, public process, that we can all take part in. So that will be part of the conversation, as we get to those public hearings.
Yeah, I think that's very important, and one of the things I keep hearing on a national level is how local communities tend to do things that are counterproductive to bringing in housing, raising their cost based on things that cities or local governments do. And thank you for being thoughtful about that. Any other questions?
No, I would just add, I like the fact that we're not being reactionary, but we're planning ahead. And, trying to do the best we can to be the strongest we can with the strongest base that we can, rather than just doing knee-jerk reactions to everything. So thank you for, involving the public and all the stakeholders in this kind of discussion.
Any other questions? Is that it, Jeremy? Or Justin? Justin. Okay, Jeremy, Justin, and Justin. All mixed up. Thank you.
He's the one that's dressed up.
He's the one that's dressed up, yeah. Next is the airport and Nick King.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Well, we're doing
Still awake?
We're still awake. It's only 7.
Great.
We're motoring right on through this.
Close there, Nick.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're halfway through these.
All right, so we're going to start off with my general fund, 2206. Let me know when you guys are ready. Lynn's ready, so I guess it's ready to go. So, as you guys can see, as you've heard, salaries, wages, benefits are all set by downtown this year with some employee changes and some new staff coming on, and how the insurance rates fell. We actually saw a slight decrease in that from where we were last year. About 2.33% of a decrease in the benefits. Salaries, as mentioned earlier, we budgeted that 2% increase to show for that. So overall for the year, we're looking at about a 0.73 increase from where we were last year. Any questions on that one? Same thing with our supplies and office supplies, operating supplies. Those we don't have too much of a change in that, so that's flat from where we were last year, still at $99,500. Where you guys probably saw the biggest change was professional services. Talking with the mayor and Lynn as we're working through some of our major capital improvement projects, specifically the runway, we thought it would be better to break apart the engineer. Traditionally, we put the engineering of the project and construction all together. We thought it would be better to show how much the design and engineering costs and then what the actual construction projects cost. And so we split that up between my capital outlays and professional services. That's why we saw that large jump in the professional services. Next year we will be completing the runway project. And so that will be the third phase and final phase of that project. So I would expect a pretty large budget drop next year when that project is finally complete. Right now, I'm budgeting about a 7% increase. Until we know what the bids are for that next year, we just won't know what the final cost is, but that's what I budgeted for over what we were estimating for this year's project. Other than that, no other real changes throughout the professional services. And so we had about a 20% increase total year over year within our services area. Do you guys have any questions regarding that section at all? Okay, and then moving into capital outlays, obviously you see an increase in the improvements of the buildings, that's, where we pull our money, for our portion of the runway project. That we did go up, just seeing the bid numbers where they were this year, we did think that the project next year could be a little bit more expensive than the first couple phases, and so we did see an increase there. And to try and make that as net neutral as possible on the tax rate, we were going to buy a snowplow truck, or to replace one of our older trucks next year. We decided to push that off 1 year, and we removed that money out of our machinery equipment and moved that money into our improvements other than buildings to make that difference up. So overall, the capital outlay fund stays flat for next year, and we still get that increase for our project. So the total airport budget for the year is going up just under 5%, about 4.94%. Do remember that with that runway project, we are partnering with the county on that. That money, we'll get to that in a minute, where then when they give us that money, it goes into my depreciation fund, my non-tax revenue fund. So we'll get that budget here in a second. But just to talk about that, and I do want to brag, if somebody asked how many staff members the building and plan have, we have 6 staff members out at the airport. And next year, between my 6 staff members, we will have 104 years of service to the city. So we've got a lot of really good experience out there, and I'm very, very glad to have those guys as part of my team. The other thing to remember, when you're looking at the capital asset dollars, we're paying, it'll be just over 1.1 million for this center section of the runway project this year. Our taxiway Bravo project, that's gonna come out, I don't know what the final number is, but it's gonna be about 2.8 million, give or take. For every dollar that we invest, we're receiving 40 back between state and federal monies. Right now, our grants, and that money from the state and from the FAA is generated through fuel sales tax. So all of the tax money that we collect when we sell jet fuel and 100 low lead go into separate accounts, and then that money is distributed out by the FAA. And so when you see these big capital projects, right now the FAA is paying 95%, the state is paying 2.5%, and we're responsible for 2.5%. And we typically, the runway project's a unique project, but we typically pull that out of the funds that we make from selling fuel. And so when we do see those big projects, they are paid for by the users at the airport and the people that are flying in and out. And so that's something that, as we make these improvements, as we see more aircraft coming and going, right now we're up over 30% in fuel sales from where we were last year. As we get as more businesses are developed, as Justin's office gets busier, we see the fruits of his labor as well, with more flights coming in and out to support those improvements and those that new infrastructure here in the area. The other big thing, I know that Jack, you had sent out some questions, and one of the big things with SB1 is making sure there's no debt within the different departments. We only had one loan going into next year, and that was for a tractor that we purchased a few years ago. That will be paid off in January, so we won't have any bond debt or any other outstanding loans or anything like that. So
Yeah, I think one of my biggest concerns about all this going forward is what we have committed to, that we may not be receiving enough revenue for going forward due to SB1. It's like pulling the rug right out from underneath your feet, so something very serious we have to consider. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's something that my board also aligns with. They like keeping the airport as debt-free as possible, so it's good to have that kind of support from my board as well. My other budget is 4652. I'm not sure which tab that is for you guys.
4652.
It is 4652. So this is not a tax-funded account. This every gallon of fuel that we sell, every dollar that we make on rent, cash rent, farm rent, hangar rent, ramp fees, overnight fees, any money that the airport makes, 95 cents out of every dollar goes into my general fund, 5 cents goes into it's called a depreciation fund, it's a capital asset fund. This is also the budget where, if the county elects to partner with us on the runway project next year, their contribution would go into this fund, and that's where we're at the $750,000 in there. And as I stated, that money's going towards the final phase of the runway project. So if you would like to see how that's going, we started the construction process yesterday, and we're going to be doing full depth crack repair. Tomorrow, we've already got most of it for our for the first phase of our taxiway done today, and we'll be starting the runway tomorrow. So you guys want to stop out and say hi. If I'm not in my office, I'm probably in a truck out looking at something in the field somewhere, so please stop out.
There's the big X
Yep.
at the end of the runway.
Yeah,
That's
so
very noticeable.
we don't want people landing on it. We've got the runway closed right now, and the FAA decided to bless us with a flight check of our instrument landing system, so we get to shut down construction on Wednesday for an hour and a half, let them do their flight check, and then we can get back to work. So it's been a whirlwind of a Monday, but we made it through, and hopefully we'll get this project done. Right now, we're hoping to have all the final pavement and everything done by the end of this month, which means less than a month down for a runway. That's pretty incredible.
Did we get everything worked out with the self-serve option?
Yes, so the tank has been delivered, and we're waiting on our final IDEM permits so that we can actually have everything installed, but everything that we need is either here or being shipped here currently, and we're still hoping to have that up and running by the end of this fall.
Just out of curiosity, you probably don't have this off the top of your head, but maybe you do.
We'll see.
How many corporations do we have that fly in and out of?
Based corporations or
We'll
based?
start with based, yeah.
Based corporations, 13 or 14, it's right in there. Total, I can estimate, but I can't tell you, we don't know a specific number because a lot of times they don't tell us. But I would imagine we support 250 to 300, because it's not just Kosciuszko County that we support. You know, we've got people that fly in that do business in Napanee. Wabash Airport is way too small. Plymouth Airport is way too small for any jet traffic, and so we support both of those counties. Woodley County doesn't even have an airport, and so we support, it's between us and Huntington, and supports a majority of Woodley County. So we get flights in several times a week that aren't necessarily doing business in just Warsaw or the surrounding community, but surrounding counties as well. But we have on average 14,500 to 15,000 operations a year, which comes out to about 40 flights a day. And of that, about 2,500 of those are turbines. So that's your jets they're flying. And to put that in comparison, there's an airport in the state that has that level of jet traffic as in a community our size. It just doesn't exist.
Thank you. Good job.
So Lisa's next, and their first half is 006. If that's what you want to say.
Yes, please.
Chief,
Steve.
good to have you.
Thank you.
006.
06.
Looks like we're ready.
All right. The proposed 2027 police general budget. I provided notes as in years past with the salary employees, the civilian employees, including overtime, was a increase of 7.93% at $4,528,600. It's an increase of $332,600. Insurance with a 6% increase to $1,024,020. So the total insurance benefits, $1,032,420. Pension increase to $84,600. That's for the
an increase of $569,330. Noted the increase includes a 2% base for all police personnel. The overall percentage was 7.93%. 4.18% of the 7.93% increase was partially due to adding 3 civilian positions via the CARES program. Additionally, the increase in overtime was estimated, we're estimating receiving $100,000 in grant reimbursement for patrol purposes. That's up from $73,000 in 2026. So approximately $50,000 of the overtime of the $150,000 is non-reimbursable. Any questions with personal services?
You might just want to mention, I think we talked with the Board of Works, you have a full staff right now, don't you?
Yes, we are hiring our 44th officer, who was just approved his last Board of Works, and he starts here in a week or two.
Yeah. So that's exciting. So congratulations
Yeah, thank
for
you.
making this an attractive place to work.
Thank you.
And also your grant that you're waiting on here to get for the CARES program, that's reimbursable, so.
Yeah, so as I present the budget,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's right. The CARES program obviously is going to be budgeted through the police department, as it was previously budgeted under the opioid settlement agreement, or distributions. If the grant is received, which we hope for, if it is, then we'll certainly reimburse a great majority of these increases in this budget. But it's certainly unknown, so but it still has to be placed into this budget for the purpose, since they're city employees.
These were positions that were paid by other means before coming onto your,
Correct.
into
You
your.
were paid by the opioid distributions in 2026. Are they already in date? In the previous year was another grant.
It was another grant, yes.
Yeah. So this will be the first time taxpayers are paying for the program, if this new grant doesn't come through. But hopefully, we'll still avoid that.
An exciting thing about the new grant is that it would cover not only the city, but we're looking at some county employees as well. So right now, we do help out the county, but this would then give them their own CARES division. So it's a large grant overall that Scott and Jim have worked together to cooperatively seek, and Kosciuszko Wellness has helped with, so that a nice expansion of the program and a good distribution then of the money.
As you know, I did a ride-along where I got to see CARES in action.
Yeah.
And it was, it's impressive how they cut through the red tape. You got police standing, not just standing around, police standing there doing their thing, firemen standing there doing their thing. You get first responders, ambulance, crews, EMS there and everything. And everybody's kind of frozen in motion, and CARES comes in, they cut right through it, and they're able to get things done really pretty fast. It's well worth the money, it really is. Any other questions?
If not, I'll move to supplies. The office supplies, operating supplies, repairs and maintenance supplies, and other supplies was a 14.14% increase to $436,700. The item of note is, for the increase is going to fall back on fuel, not having locked into a 2027 contractual agreement for gasoline. 13.35% overall increase to 562,900, increase of 66,300. Any questions with other services and charges? Lastly, will be for the general budget is the capital outlays, machinery and equipment. The overall is a decrease of almost 9%. It's a total of 587,500, decrease of 57,900. I have my notes to provide you with the commission list.
Thank you.
Any questions regarding capital outlays?
What accounted for the decrease?
The largest is gonna be the reduction in the police car. We're going to be purchasing 4 cars in 2027 versus the, I believe, 5.
Okay.
5 in 2026. This will be the first time we've purchased just 4 since 2023. So the total budget estimate as proposed is $8,330,600. It's an 8.2% increase, or $631,830. And as I noted that, with the addition of the CARES program, for an increase of $248,412, with 3.23% of the 8.21%. So we'd be minus the CARES program, we would have came in just under 5% increase. So a couple items to note as far as the increases. Personal services are 9.22% from 2026. This had the largest impact, obviously, on the budget. That was $380,412, a 4.57% increase of the 2027 budget. And that's going to be contributed by pension contributions. They increased to 26.5% for 2027. That's up from 23.3% in 2026, roughly 20% in 2025. Represents an approximate $136,000 increase from 2026 to the proposed 2027. The overtime increase of $14,000, which I hit on, the CARES program, which I hit on. The supply category I also hit on as far as the fuel pricing and the addition of the CARES program.
Scott, I really appreciate some of the notes that you put in there, and that really helps to break out the CARES and so forth.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
What determines a vehicle that you phase out of the pool?
It's a process, but it mainly requires our mechanic to be on board. Obviously, it could be a car that is aged, might be something with high mileage. Once the repairs start outweighing
for us, is this the only one?
No, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. Doesn't appear to be.
I think I have 5 more.
Oh, okay.
So you have law continuing education,
It's 2228.
2228, law continuing ed. This is a revenue generated budget. The 2027 proposed is a total of 48,600, up from 26,600 last year. The largest items that we're looking at is under capital outlays, which is going to be training equipment, emergency response equipment, and police radars. And the reason there's such a significant difference is we just kind of under budgeted for 2026 versus what we are for 2027. It's not as if our revenue increased that much. Any questions pertaining to long-term education?
Are you replacing any of your K-9 officers this year?
I do have it in the general budget for the purchase of, and part of in the training as well as the,
Oh, in the trainings, okay.
hand equipment, I believe, but we are looking to, increase 2 K-9 units, so bring on 2 additional units, training 2 officers and K-9s in 2027. With the anticipation in the near future of our current 2 retiring.
Yeah.
But we would like to get to 4 active, which we obviously will be, not sure how long we'll actually be
Right.
with 4, but that is our intention.
I know that protects the safety of our officers and
They're
the victims, so,
a valuable asset for sure.
yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for law continuing ed? If not, we'll move to police pension. We want to go to forfeiture.
Let's do forfeiture, 2404.
We'll do police forfeiture. 2404. It's the police forfeiture fund.
And revenue here is collected through the prosecutor's office?
Yes. And we currently have just under 17,000 in the fund, so we will budget those funds. Some years we do not budget, obviously, if we do not have funds in the account, but with that being there, we are budgeting 17,000. The purpose is the firearms simulation system, so it's a program that allows officers to train without being indoors and using, the simulation system. So it's truly a simulation of, virtual simulation from everything from a firearms range to actually going through specific use of force incidents.
That'd be real interesting, I'd like to see that sometime.
Sure. You just have to agree to the budget.
Well, since it's revenue supported.
Any questions with forfeiture funds? If not, we'll move to the police pension.
Which is,
It's
It is 8802. officers that, retired officers that did that transition. So this pension currently has 4 retired members and 3 dependents. Covering salaries and wages, benefits, death benefits, professional services. So the total budget estimate is $291,150, an increase of 4.11%.
As a side note, the revenue from that mostly comes from pension relief fund that the state sends us, basically what we spend the
They reimburse
current
us.
year, they'll send us that much.
Does their pension change with what we're currently paying, or how does that work?
So there's 2 categories under the old pension plan, those that converted and those that did not.
Okay,
So the ones that did not convert, their increase is based upon the police salaries and benefits. So 20-year first-class patrol officer, so any increase of, this year's at 2%, they'll get a 2% January 1st. The ones that converted to the 1977 police and fire pension fund, they will get a mid-year cost of living increase on July 1st, and that'll be based upon cost of living, and so it's the same as if any current officer was to retire in the same pension plan, so they're governed by the state pension.
okay.
Any questions with the pension fund?
Doesn't appear to be any.
With that, I'll conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, last but not least,
Always save the best for last,
Yeah.
right? Not last, but last. So my budget tab is number 4004. And under my personal services, the wages went up for the 2% that was recommended, which made pretty much everything else go up a little bit. My unemployment stayed the same, health and dental went down a little bit because of correctness. Cell phone stayed the same, so my, personal charges and services is, up by 1.27%. In my, office and operating supplies, that stayed the same at $12,000, so there was no increase there. My professional services, area, I lowered my travel and mailings. We're having a lot of training online, so that's helped with some of that. I lowered, that's the only thing I lowered, so that whole thing was, that whole section was down almost 7%, 6.98%. My capital outlays, I stayed the same, so my overall budget is down 0.60%. Had to beat them. You haven't seen this, so anyways, that's that one. Any questions?
doesn't appear to be.
Do you want me to go over the bond budgets? All the bonds are tax-based bonds that I do, so
Looks like we got time, it's 7:30, so.
you've got nothing but time. So the next time would be the general obligation bond of, 2016, and that's tab 307. And the budgets are what they are, they're just the payments,
Which tab did you say?
3307.
3307.
3307.
So, including our semi-annual payments and our fees for the year, that budget is for 2027 is $260,200, and that's for the bond payment for the fire station. principal payments for 2027 are $270,000, and then the interest is $71,375, for a total budget of $342,125.
It's a park bond.
Yeah, that's for the park bond for their new building.
Okay.
We got a couple years left on that.
Yeah, we have a couple of years left on that, it's fairly new. Just since 2023, so we'll be in the fourth year of payment.
Out of 20 or 30? What years?
No, you're asking way too much. We'll say 20.
I'm guessing.
But it is. Okay, and then the last one, well, hold it, no, not the last one. The last bond would be, for the street department bond, and that tab is 3311. Sorry, I sort of got ahead of myself. And the bond was issued in 2025. And that building is not yet completed. So our main agent fees are $1,500. And then on this bond, it's lease rental payments, because if you remember right, or if you remember correctly, the redevelopment authority issued this bond. And for the lease rental payments, we had to put up collaterals, which I believe we put up a bunch of streets around town. So the total payment, lease rental payments for, next year is $1,074,000. So that makes a total budget, $1,075,500 for that bond. And I couldn't tell you when that bond is, it'll probably be like 2040 before I think it's paid off. And then the last budget I do is the cumulative capital improvements, and that's 4401, tab 4401. And we use this mainly for, the bike and walk paths around town, or their maintenance. I don't think there's been a year where we've spent the whole budget. That the
What'd you
budget-
say it was for?
Like for the, ride walk paths around town. Maintenance of them.
Thank you.
So the total budget for next year for that is $70,000, and, 65,000 of that is for the ride walk path, and then 5,000 for professional services for engineering or whatever. And I think the current, well, at the end of June, there's like, we had a balance of about $220,000 in that fund, so it's healthy. And that's all I have.
You know, just as long as you're dressed up, you gotta tell the council about the grant you just received.
Thanks. So we have a Safe Streets for All grant, which totals, it's actually two grants. So we got one from the federal DOT at the amount of $400,000. Nate Callahan, a member of Ride Walk, is actually the one who applied for that on the city's behalf. So we have a citizen that is participating in these monthly meetings, taking time out of their workday and applying for grants, and the city has received that. And then we also are pairing that with a $100,000 matching grant from K21. So totaling $500,000 for the investigation, so engineering and review of a potential multimodal trail through downtown. So we'll evaluate a few different blocks and connect the east side where we have a trail along Market Street to the west side where we have additional greenway that go out by the CCAC and Slate Automotive and all that good stuff. So very engaged group. Ride Walk, when you include county members, it focuses on Winona Lake, Warsaw, and we have quarterly meetings that involve the entire county. We got about 35 people that take time out of their day to advocate
make sure you guys saw the tax at the front of the book that we did go over, which, has like the budget classification categories, also has the phone numbers of all the, department heads in case you have questions, for quick reference to call. We haven't gotten to 1782 numbers yet, so I can't give you that. That will be for a couple months. I have the, assessed valuation, levy, and rate history since 2016 through this year. I have the general fund totals from 2023 through 2027, since there's 9 departments that are involved in the general fund, or use the general fund money. And then, I did a new page for the revenue disbursements by most of the tax-based funds from 2023 through 2025, just so you can sort of see how our revenue expenditures are trending. We don't have a salary ordinance yet, we don't have a lot of the other forms yet, but, I have the fund balance as the one you have tonight as of the end of June, and that's all that is in there so far, so just putting it out in case you guys wanna look at that.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from council? Any other matters? I have noticed quite a few things downtown just today. It appears that Indiana Street is now open. Solid. So,
When did they open that, Dustin, do you know, was it Friday?
yeah, I was surprised today when I was going through town and I could use the road again. We got another new coffee shop about ready to open up, Scooters down south of the tracks. I saw it lit up one Saturday night, it lights up.
I heard it looked pretty nice in there.
It looks pretty nice at night, their grass is cut, it looks like they could be slinging coffee anytime soon. And let's see, there was one other thing, I can't remember what it was, but, things are moving.
I'd like to comment that I'm glad we didn't try to do other business tonight when we're doing these budgets. We've done that in the past.
Oh, but we did, we took on 3
Well,
things.
that's pretty simple, but we've had some years where we've had some business in there that shouldn't have been in there, took too much time, so whoever arranged that, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the mayor did that knowing he was gonna be going along with Lynn.
We just need to send the mayor to France and that cuts down on the business.
On his time. On his time, yeah. Okay, we have no, items carried forward. Do we have any visitors' questions or comments? We've recognized a few out here this evening.